Hi, I wanted to quickly talk about some of the criticisms people have had about my last Carry KH video, which was about supposed palindromes, although looking back at it, I shouldn't have used that word because that word already describes a well-known concept, which is a word that's spelled the same forward and backward. The top comment had over 1,500 likes, so clearly a lot of people agreed with it, and here's what it said. So early in my video, I claimed that the whole video and the whole tool only cared about the spellings of words and did not care about the pronunciation or phonetics of the word at all. And then within a minute after that, I said, let's look at how the word Nathan is actually pronounced, and the TH is only pronounced with one phoneme, the th phoneme. So let's replace it with a different character. And I can see in retrospect how that feels like it's completely contradictory from what I had just said. It feels like I'm saying the exact opposite thing. I should have taken a more mathematically rigorous approach to describing the concept I was trying to describe, which was, I'm just trying to look at a sequence of discrete elements, some of which are equal and some of which are not equal, and see what permutations of that you can arrive at by simply reversing substrings of that sequence. So when I said we only care about the spelling of Nathan, what I really should have said is we're looking at a substring, or a sequence, sorry. We're looking at a sequence of 6 elements, which we will call x1, x2, x6. Now x1 and x6 have the same value. x2 and x5 have the same value. And x3 and x4 are different from all the others. If I describe it that way, then it's pretty clear what's going on. The phonetic pronunciation of Nathan has nothing to do with it because, you know, the A in Nathan is technically a diphthong. Diphthong? It's E, and that kind of concept just doesn't even matter here. All I really cared about is that the N's are technically the same, the A's are technically the same, and the T and the H are different. But this has nothing to do with the English language. The final question is, which reversals will lead this sequence to look exactly the same? And the answer is, we're going to reverse the substring from x3 to x4 and reverse the substring from x1 to x6, and that'll keep it the same. The only reason I brought up the TH phoneme at all was because I wanted to dip your toe into a reason why you would want to reverse the substring from x3 to x4 in the first place. But in actuality, the identity of the letters didn't matter at all, and you could choose any substring of the original sequence to reverse. It doesn't matter. The identities of the letters is irrelevant here, which is why I say the English language is not important. We could have boiled it down to pure mathematics. So the original reason for why I made the palindrome tool in the first place is just that I have personally been interested in palindromes since I was maybe 10 years old. And in fact, if you look at this book my brother and I made in a summer camp way back when, within the first few pages, you can see this comic strip palindrome I tried to make, which is a little nonsensical, and I'll have to explain it later because if I don't explain it, it just sounds like gibberish. But anyway, recently, I just wanted an easy-to-use tool in the browser that let me play around with concepts I had in my head about palindromes. And it wasn't supposed to be high stakes or anything. In fact, I was almost just thinking about making a human-y screen capture video of me playing around with it, which would be sloppy, unedited, and I would just ramble about it. But at the same time, I had been telling myself for the past few years that I can't be placing Carry KH videos on a super high pedestal. Because if I expect every Carry KH video to be really well made, really well animated, and really well researched, that just leads to the mindset where I never make Carry KH videos at all. So when it came time to figure out what to do with this palindrome tool, I just figured, let's just put it on Carry KH because why not? That's not an illegal thing to do. But you know, it was never intended to be as high quality or correct as some of the earlier things I had made. And maybe in 2017 or 2018, when I held Carry KH as a channel to a higher standard, I wouldn't have uploaded the palindrome tool to there. This kind of brings me to the next concept I wanted to talk about, which was that there's one side of YouTubers who are very educational and intellectual, I guess. And those might be Veritasium, CGP Grey, ASAP Science, Smarter Every Day, you know, all those types of people. And I know that all their videos are very well researched and have a standard of being correct, because there's people with PhDs in those subjects. So you have people to consult to make sure you're giving the correct information and not misinforming the public. On the other side of YouTube, you have the more artsy people who are maybe showing off their dance moves or their paintings, their drawings, or their music. And in that case, you don't really need to research that type of thing because it's your own self-expression, and so whatever you want to do is correct. And so I feel like with some of the things I make on KRKH or Humany, or things I just do in my free time, which are technically programming projects, so they're CS, I feel like they're actually closer to the artsy side of things, which sounds kind of cringy. But what I mean is, when I intend to make this palindrome video, I'm not trying to educate anyone about a topic that there are people with PhDs in. No one's a PhD in palindromes. It's more kind of like, you know, when you're doing a painting, you have this idea in your head and it's not anything useful, but you feel like it's a way to express yourself and create something new, and that's why I made the palindrome thing. And because it's not really factual in that sense, it's, you know, I don't research it, and I also will say things in a very hand-wavy manner that, if you look at it mathematically, is technically incorrect. And I think because of that, you know, a lot of people watching it will be very confused and, you know, will comment criticisms, as they should. You know, criticism will help me make my explanations clearer in the future. But I just think it's frustrating that, like, if I make a video like the palindrome tool, you know, for every supportive comment about like how I should keep doing stuff like that, I'll get 10 more comments like joking about how wrong my explanation is. And you know, if I was teaching something like biology and I was teaching some bullshit facts like that, I don't know, the stomach is where the baby is born, which is not true, then, you know, people are in their full right to be criticizing that left and right. But I just think that, you know, when I'm just trying to create the more artsy side of things, of like, you know, this palindrome tool that, you know, isn't trying to educate people in a textbook way, like I might just, I don't know why I would upload that to a YouTube channel where people expect a more rigorous standard. Yum, water. Anyway, I feel like the only reason why I would upload something like the palindrome video, which is technically useless, is because it adds to the total positivity of the world, which is, I think there's a silly webcomic about that. So if I personally feel happier or more fulfilled by the video, and the general public also feels happier or more fulfilled or more inspired, whatever, by the video, then it was worth it. But I feel like with the palindrome video, it's just adding confusion to the general public, and it's making me feel anxious to see more and more people get confused about a topic that at its core could be really fascinating, but I'm doing it a disservice by explaining it in a convoluted way. So it feels like a lose-lose situation that might have not been worth it in the first place. It's like a mental health tax that I just don't want to pay. So I think for projects similar to that in the future, I should just upload them to Humany where there are no stakes. And when it comes to the spectrum I mentioned earlier of purely intellectual YouTubers to purely artsy YouTubers, I'm feeling like I want to push myself more towards the fully artsy side. Because with art, like I've said before, there are no stakes that you're mathematically correct or explaining things in a correct manner. And I do want to say that I have nothing against putting in the hard work of verifying your information with experts. And if my goal with these YouTube videos was to inform the public, as it is with Kurzgesagt or CGP Grey, I would put as much weight in that verification process as they do. It's extremely important. But since my content is so much more about toying around with programming projects and with toying around, you don't care so much about correctness. I feel like it might just be better if I can rebrand myself more and more towards the artsy side. Because if I see a YouTuber who does purely art, maybe they're just painting, you know, the comment section will never be as confused, concerned, disappointed as it tends to be with my projects that are badly explained.